Welcome to the Hockey Writers Podcast. We are doing another 2022-23 NHL season preview brought to you today by my co-host and I. Matthew, how are you today?
I am doing good. I guess season's almost here, and that's fun. Like we said, we've gone through almost the whole team, all the teams here. So let's doing another one.
We're getting down to our final few. And these are the ones where we were unable to get writers to join us, or in the case of the team we're going to talk about today, the Dallas Stars, we are currently writer-less. So we have other writers that join in and we'll cover the Stars from occasion, but we want to still preview the team. So let's kick it off and start talking about the forwards. So I'm just going to ask you, Matt, what are your expectations for Mason Marchment, the newest forward for the Stars?
Well, I mean, I was surprised he actually left the Florida Panthers, personally, because he had such a great season over there, and moving over to a new team, and we'll see if he can do it again. I mean, he had a really good thing going there with Anton Lundell on that third line with with Reinhart. I mean, I don't know if that's a third line on most teams. But, he had really good chemistry with those two guys, and now you're banking on yourself, and he had a pretty good paycheck from the Stars, and hopefully he can mesh with some of their guys, because I think they have some talent. I mean, Dallas has quite a few good players, and we'll talk about a few of them. One guy that's not signed yet. Mm-hmm. But I think Marchment's gonna, like I say, it's a gamble for him moving to another team that you have such good success with one, and then you go into another team, you're hoping that you can find that same thing. But we'll have to see. He's a really effective player. He's got like I say, he scored a lot of goals last year. So I mean, on a line that he had some really good talent on that line. 18 goals, 47 points in 54 games. I mean, all nearly a point a game. So I mean, like I say, I think it's a gamble him moving to another team at this point. But if he can do the same thing or more on Dallas, I think it's a good signing for the Stars.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like you said, it was a big surprise he left Florida, being the perennial contenders they have been, and the fact that he had such a breakout season last year and found kind of his role there with that team. And he's going to a team that it's not like he's jumping up the depth chart here. Yeah. He's going to be behind Robertson when they finally sign him. He's behind Jamie Benn, so he's still kind of in that third line slot. So it's not like he's utilizing this big year to go and play, second or third or first line minutes somewhere. So like you said, it is very interesting to see him kind of make this jump this season, but that will definitely be a storyline to watch. Speaking of storylines, we just mentioned it, but when you're talking about the Dallas Stars right now, you have to talk about Jason Robertson. Oh. So I want to get your thoughts. Why have the Stars yet to re-sign Robertson, and what does this mean for the team if they can't get this deal done by the start of the season?
Well, I mean, it's massive. I mean, he had such a great season last year. I mean, you're looking at his numbers. I mean, he was their top scorer, and he's still really young. Like, I was actually surprised when I was looking at his numbers, earlier. I was actually surprised how much production he had, and that's the one thing about a guy. He kind of flew under the radar. 41 goals. I mean, there was one time I just glanced over, and I'm like, "What? He has 41 goals?" Or he had I think at the time he had 30, and I'm like, I didn't even know he was a 30 goal scorer, but ended with 41 goals, 79 points in 74 games. I mean, over a point a game, and 4 points in the playoffs. Didn't really, I mean, they only played a 7-game series, but only 23 years old too. And he's got a 40 goal season under his belt. And they don't have him signed. I don't understand. And
that 40 goal season came as a 22-year-old. He just turned 23 in the off season. So, this has been the biggest question mark, joke, head scratcher of the off season. How is Dallas not re-signed Jason Robertson, and how have teams B not offered sheet him yet? I mean,
yeah.
like I don't understand what the holdup is here, which is really, really confusing because, man, did Robertson just explode over the past 2 years? So
yeah, I mean, how much? The thing is how much is he going to get paid? I mean, this
right.
is, a 40-goal scorer. It's, I don't know, like how to speculate on how much money he's going to get, but that 7-year deal seems to be the biggest. Like one seems to be those are the ones being thrown around lately. Yeah. Unless they're going to sign him to a bridge deal, which is possible. Maybe that's the thing that's kind of holding it up, which one they're going to do. At this point, just get him signed because the Stars are going to be in trouble without him to start the season. So,
I 100% agree. And if it is a bridge deal, if the hope is that the cap is going to increase over the next couple of years, then let him know that. Say, we're offering you this for this next year or two because we want to be able to pay you this when we can. So it is a huge enigma as to why this has been happening, but that's definitely been the biggest storyline that I've been keeping my eye on out of Dallas. Have there been any other forward or storylines, especially about the forwards, that you've been thinking about this offseason?
One guy is Joe Pavelski. I mean, this is ageless wonder. I mean, 38 years old. He had 81 points last year.
I know. He led the team in points. It was just shy of a point per game. He had 81 points in 82 games. I'd say give it to him at that point. But Pavelski, he's one of those guys that's been around a long time, has yet to raise the Stanley Cup. And was very close a couple seasons ago.
Yeah, and he doesn't seem to have slowed down either. I mean, like I say, he's 2 years away from 40, and he's had an 81-point season. I mean, how many 38-year-olds can put up 81 points? I don't know. Like, not many.
And the fact that he has never had an 80-point season before in his career.
Yeah.
The best was a 79-point season with San Jose when he was 29. And then, he had a 78 point season 2 years later. Other than that, it's been mostly, 70 or in the 60s or below. And so here he is, like you said, ageless wonder, 37 years old, 81 points. Like that's insane. That's another big storyline, I would say.
It's going to be interesting to see if he can do it again. I have no doubt. I think he probably will. Like I say, when he left San Jose, I thought, he's just signing with the Stars, being like the twilight of his career type, be that third, fourth line guy maybe. But he's their top guy. He's one of their top guys. So he's been a surprise over the last couple seasons, and just continues to do it. Like in the playoffs, he had 3 goals too. So it's not like he's a playoff performer as well.
I agree. And if Dallas can make another push this year, Pavelski is going to be a huge piece to their success in the playoffs.
Yeah. Another one I want to mention quickly is Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, so much money tied up in those two. And that's the reason why they're having problems with Robertson, I think, too. I mean, these guys, they're not producing at the same level anymore, too. Which, I mean, if they were, then you're like, okay, that's fine. But I think that's going to be another one to see if they can kind of produce this year. And or if they can move one of them. I don't know. Like,
I don't think they'll. It's hard, right? Hard to move either of them, but they kind of have to right now because, like you said, neither of them have really produced. They were both finished in the 40-point range. I believe 46 for Jamie Benn, and what was it? Seguin had 49, so both were sub 50. But they gotta be better. They have to be better this year. Especially with all these young guys coming up and proving to Dallas that they're ready to play. They have a lot of young guys coming up that could make some noise in the next year or two, and Dallas is going to have to make room somewhere.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to get your thoughts as a whole. How does this forward group match up with other teams in the Central, Matt?
Well, without Robertson, they're really hooped, I think. But with them, we'll assume he does get signed within the next few weeks here. I mean, you hope that he's not going to be like a William Nylander, doesn't get signed until December. I mean, that's not good for him.
Right.
To not be in training camp, not playing the whole, half the season. So we'll just assume that he's back. So looking at this group as a whole with him in the lineup, I think they're up there. I mean, you're looking at guys like Rupe Hintz, who's another guy we haven't, talked about, and he's another guy that's part of that top line with Robertson, and he's really good. If Sagan and Ben can kind of, rebound, that's a lethal combo. And then you add in Marchment, if he can have a 20-goal season or stuff like that. I mean, some of the rookies may end up making the team. I'm going to mention a guy later on who I think has a big chance. But I mean, they've got a good group. I think like Radek Faksa is another underrated player that I think has a really good game too. So, and their group I think is good. And with a new coach again, they may be more offensively inclined because I think the Stars weren't that. They're more of a defensive team, I think, under Bonus. So, and you still had Robertson scoring 41 goals. So what can he do in a more wide open system? So I think they're up there. I think they're in the top, like, again, Avalanche are up the top, but I think they fall into like the 3, maybe 3-4. But yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, we kind of just talked about this with the Jets in our last episode that, they're kind of leaning top heavy, right? They have a couple of guys that are putting up massive points, and then after that, it kind of falls off. So with Robertson in the lineup, they can score with the best of them. They can put up points, but if he's out through December, I mean, we talk about many times how wherever teams are at American Thanksgiving, that's usually how they are when it comes to playoffs. And if you have a 41 goal scorer sitting on your shelf, for that time period, don't expect to be in the best position, heading into that playoff run. So I would say, I'm going to say they're around the 4th, 5th, 6th, maybe 4th or 5th best. We'll say 4th or 5th best in the Central. All right. Well, let's move over to the defense. The Stars brought in a trio of defensemen, Colin Miller a while ago, Nils Lundkvist, I believe, like this week. And then Will Butcher in the offseason as well. So what are your expectations for this new trio of defenders there, Matt?
Well, it's interesting. The Lundkvist one's an interesting one. They've paid a lot for him. I mean, first round pick for a guy that was wanted out. I mean, you're paying a first round pick for this guy coming in. I don't know. Expectations gonna be high. Especially for the fans. I mean, looking at a guy you gave a first round pick for, he better perform like a first round pick because he was one. So I mean, if he gets more ice time, I'm not sure he will get more ice time on this lineup. I mean, he wanted to leave New York because he thought he was kind of stuck. But on this team, when you got, Klingberg is gone. So there's a, high-end defenseman gone. I mean, Heiskanen's still your main guy. Zator, as he's a veteran, but he'll probably play a lot. So maybe he can fit in that second pairing, maybe. But you got Lindell, who's going to be trying to maybe be a bit more of an impact defenseman this year. I don't know. I think Lundkvist could maybe fit into that second pairing, but I don't know if he has much bigger chance that he had in the pictures here because he wants to have more ice time. I'm not sure he will get it here.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think you're absolutely right. The Stars do need to replace Klingberg back there. I mean, that's a big gap to fill, but I don't think it's Lundkvist that's the right player to fill that. So I agree. I think it's going to be kind of a show me preseason for him. He has to really produce and really prove that he belongs there, or else he might be up and down the season and be just as miserable and requesting a trade again. So yeah, like you said, dropping a first round pick on this guy is very dangerous and I think could end up blowing up in the Stars' face.
Yeah. And like on the other guys, I mean, Colin Miller's been injury prone lately, and he can stay healthy. He's a good defenseman. I mean, he's got that big shot at the point, and a good power play guy. He's a right-hand shot. I mean, that's always a coveted position, but he has to stay healthy. That's a big thing, I think, for him. And Will Butcher. I mean, I love this guy. I mean, I don't know what's happened to him. I mean, he would kind of bounce in New Jersey. He had a really good season. And then he bounced back, went to Buffalo and again, injuries again too with him. So he could surprise and be a guy that, returns to that. I know Christie, who covers the Devils, really liked him when he was there. So, I mean, these are all kind of unknowns. I mean, question marks if they're going to be able to fit into anything. But biggest thing is both of them have to stay healthy, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like Butcher a lot. I think he could be one of those guys that could add some grit and some toughness to that Stars defense. It's kind of going to be lacking with Klingberg gone back there. And then, yeah, like you said, Colin Miller, if he's healthy, big right-handed shot from the point, which is a really nice thing to have at your disposal on the power play. So, two guys that really could make a big difference there, but also could just be kind of by the end of the season. It really is a coin flip with those two. So I like that they're going out and trying with these two, because I don't think either of them really have that bad of a contract in terms of like a team deal side of the deal. But why not? Because they could be those guys that really just needed to find their role and found it in Dallas.
Yep.
All right. One storyline I want to talk about, Matt, is Miro Heiskanen on the defensive end. So the last few seasons, he's been hanging around the mid 30-point range. Played all 82 games as a 19-year-old, played in that pretty much all the games in the shortened season of 2019-2020. And then the last couple of years didn't quite play a full season. So starting to have a little injury problems, kind of, falling off on the goal department, but picking up in the assist department. What are your expectations for Miro Heiskanen this year? For me, I would say I think he needs to start producing a little bit more. He's been in the league now for 4 seasons. He's going into his 23-year-old year, so he still has room to develop. But I think he really needs to take his game to the next level, and I think he needs to get back into being a more of a goal scorer for this defense, and kind of needs to hit closer to that 12 to 15 goal mark. So that's what my expectations are for Heiskanen this year. What are yours, Matt?
Well, first of all, this guy's insanely talented. I mean, he's probably, I don't know. I want to kind of put him in that rank of the, Quinn Hughes, Cale Makar, that realm, because I think he has the potential to hit that. And I know I always mention Quinn Hughes in that conversation. I was like, well, because you're a Canucks writer, you have to bias, but he is in that realm. So, but we're talking about Heiskanen. Heiskanen, I think he hasn't had his goal totals since that first year with the 12 goals. Yeah. He's hovered around that 30-point mark, which I mean is not super elite. I mean, you want to be in that 40 to 50-point range all the time, and he hasn't gotten there. But I think, again, this guy's only 23. I mean, he started when he was in what I think would have been 18 or 19 then.
2018-19, yeah. He's 19 years old, played a full season as a rookie. And if I remember correctly, he was one of the finalists for the Calder. He was up there, I believe he was.
Yeah, he had some votes. So, he had showed a lot of potential back then. He hasn't played a full season since, though.
Yeah, he was 4th in the Calder, actually. If I just scrolled to the right, I could see that.
But again, he hasn't played a full season since then. Yeah, the 2020-21 season was a 56 game season. So he almost played a full season there. He played 55. But 68 games after the season, after that full season, only played 70 this past season. So I mean, one thing about him is, like I say, he's so talented. I think he can bounce back. I think my expectation is, I think the same as yours. Get some more goals, because you'll get the assists. You look at that.
Assists are going to come for him.
You'll hit that 30, 40 points. If he gets that 30 to 40 assists, you're at the 50-point mark if you got 10 goals.
Yeah.
And that's the same conversation as with Hughes. I think if Hughes can score more, he's in the same realm. So I think Heiskanen and Hughes are actually pretty similar defensemen. It's just that Heiskanen's I think he has a bit more size. He's going to score up here, 6'1".
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's a bit bigger. He plays a ton of minutes too. I know he's always hovering on the 25, 30 minute mark. Maybe a little bit too much. So if they can maybe lower his ice time a bit with the new defenseman, he may be better. So I think he's going to have a good season, but yeah, I think he has to get some more goals in that instead of just the assists, because I think he'll be more impactful then.
Yeah, I mean, I think the expectation for him, because he's a play driver, right? So he drives that play, dishes the puck off, and then the Stars score when Robertson's on the ice, I should say. But they need him to also do more than just start that play, right? They need him to finish on some of those rushes. They need him to kind of be able to jump up and be that second or third option on the rush when he's not driving the play. So I think, if he can get, like we said, I don't, no need to keep beating it down, but if he can get more offense in on the goal side of things, the assists are going to come, and that's where the Stars need him. They need him to be about that 50 to 60 point range on the low end. And then, that's the floor, and then the ceiling from there. They'll take anything above that. But I think for the Stars to be happy with his season, he's going to need to hit at least 50 points.
Yeah. And now without Klingberg there too, I think he's going to have a bit more responsibility, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. 50 might be low for some of their expectations now because of that. So good call there. All right, Matt, do you have any other storylines on defense that you are looking to follow?
Well, I mean, like I say, I was going to mention Heiskanen. I think he's the biggest one for me. One I'm kind of looking at is who's going to be paired with him. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure who he was paired with last season. So, I mean, they've got some options. You're looking at Lundkvist. If he can he's not a defensive guy, so you really don't want him paired with Heiskanen. So I'm looking at a guy like Colin Miller, maybe. I think he could potentially be that guy beside him. And then just quickly, another guy is, Thomas Harley. He's a guy that I think has to really break out this season and establish as a main part of this defense, because, again, he's really young. He's 21 as well. Had his first season last year, had 34 points, 34 games. He played 34 games, only had 4 points. I think he's got to establish himself as a full-time NHLer this year, and that's one defenseman I'm kind of watching for, especially with all the guys they brought in, to see if he can kind of become that regular in the lineup.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. They, like we said, there are a lot of holes to fill for Klingberg right now, and there's a lot of question marks on that back end, and so he really needs to be one of those guys that can come in and play a more consistent role, because he certainly was in and out, looking at some of his splits from last year, and he had 9 games in March, 10 in April. Other than that, he had, 7 in February, 1 January, 3 December, 4 November. So wasn't seeing a whole lot of ice tour until the end of the season. So hopefully that's a sign that he's starting to find his role and will be, playing a bigger role coming this season. But I think you're right. He certainly needs to be in that position to take on more time and more responsibility.
Yeah.
All right, Maddie, how do you match this defensive core up with other teams in the Central? I know we were saying their forwards around that 3, 4, maybe 5 spot.
Yeah.
How would you rank their defense?
This one's an interesting. I think they're a big question mark on defense beyond high school because, you've got some guys that are, like I say, we've talked about Butcher, Miller, guys like that. That's where they're going to fit in. You got Lindell, who showed some potential early on, and he's again a guy that's been, what did he play last year? He did play the 76 games. That was decent, 25 points. So, he was a regular in the lineup. So we got Lundell there, a bigger defenseman. I think he could maybe, again, this is going to be, how much minutes did Klingberg play? He was up to the 20-minute mark all the time. So he was one of their top minute munchers. So who's going to replace those, I think? And that's the big thing beyond Heiskanen. And it's tough. I mean, as a group, I want to say they're more in that mid-range, but it's as bad as saying like Arizona or Chicago level. But I think maybe they're a little bit ahead of Chicago when you look at they have Seth Jones leading the way. So maybe in that mid-range, if everything goes right, they could push themselves up. But it's all going to be about the new coach of how he kind of deals with the defense too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. And so I have to say, you're 1,000% right. This defensive core is just a giant question mark right now. I just keep looking through this roster, and it's on paper, it looks like it should be decent, but they just haven't been able to put it together yet. So it's one of those things that it's very hard to kind of predict. So I'm going to put them right around the middle of the pack. Just kind of, they need, like you said, they need to wow us this year. Their defense needs to score more. We know their forwards can score. Now their defense needs to prove they can score too. So I'm going to put them right in that middle of the pack and say, put a little note, asterisk saying at the bottom, show me. So, show me that you belong here, you belong higher, because there's too many question marks, like you said.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan Suter, a 37-year-old defenseman, is playing upwards 20, 25 minutes. That's what he played in the playoffs.
I think he was the second highest point or minute getter on their defense last year behind Heiskanen. I think he was even ahead of Klingberg. So it's.
But he's an ageless wonder too. But
also true.
They got two of those guys. One on defense.
I don't know what's in the water in Dallas, but holy cow, they must have found the fountain of youth down there.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move over to goaltending. One of the talk about breakout stars of the postseason last year was Oettinger, goaltender for the Stars, who just absolutely kerfuffled the Calgary Flames. I mean, they could not figure him out for the longest of times. So they brought in Scott Wedgwood from New Jersey, I believe, right?
Last season, towards the end of the season.
Toward the end of last season. And they still have Qdobin, but I believe he's still dealing with the injury. So right now it's looking like the tandem's going to be Oettinger and Wedgwood moving forward. What are your expectations for this duo?
Well, I'm looking for Oettinger to continue that playoff performance, because there was another guy that everyone was like, why isn't he signed yet? They finally signed him, which was a big deal because he's their starter for now. I think next decade. I mean, this guy's the new Marty Turco. I mean, in the fact of being a long-term goaltender. I'm not saying he's good the puck playing and all that stuff, but they haven't had a guy since Turco as being that type of elite number one goaltender, I think, unless I'm forgetting someone. But I don't think the Dallas Stars have had. I mean, Ben Bishop was good, but his injury was.
He never really seemed to be fully healthy there.
Yeah, I mean, he was a really good goaltender, but for like long-term elite status, I think Marty Turco was their last one. Yeah. So, Oettinger is just, he's such a good young goaltender. And I mean, his size, 6'5", 220. I mean, he's got the size of one of those, like, it's hard to beat him. And he's so athletic too. And just watch that series against, I mean, he was the reason they were in that series at all. I mean, he nearly beat the Calgary Flames, like you said, right?
That's really true, though.
Himself. So, you know, he brought them to 7 games, and I think he's just going to be so good this year. And I think he's going to play a lot of the games. I mean, they probably shouldn't make him play all the games, but Wedgwood's a decent goaltender too. So I think if they can kind of get him games too, but it's where Oettinger, I think the Stars will go as far as Oettinger can take him this year.
1000% agree. He's definitely the storyline back there. You know, if Khudobin can get healthy and come back, I think the duo of Oettinger and Khudobin is going to be much stronger. But nothing against Wedgwood. I just don't really see him being that guy this season. So it's really going to land on Oettinger's shoulders. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we talked about the forwards and defense. Now let's talk about goaltending, and I'll start. So with this goaltending matchup, like I said, if it could be Oettinger, Khudobin, I think we're talking maybe the second or third best in the Central. But with Oettinger and Wedgwood, I think we're talking maybe more around 4 or 5. I think Oettinger can do it, but I don't think he's going to be able to play 60 plus games like a Vasilevsky, like a we just talked about him in the last show, Hellebuck. You know, I think he's only going to really be able to play around, 40, 45 games. So that means you're going to have Wedgwood in for about half of the season. So I think that kind of lowers where we can place this duo. So that's just my thoughts. Want to get your thoughts, Matt. Where do you rank?
Yeah, I want to say that Oettinger is probably up. I want to say Ottinger's the highest, is close to the top, but again, he's unproven over a full season. I mean, he had a really good end of regular season. I mean, when he took over for Holtby there, kind of took over the net. He's really good. And again, we mentioned the playoffs, how good he was, but if he can keep that going, and like I say, he's not proven over a full season to play the 60 plus games. That was the problem with Demko in Vancouver here. I mean, wasn't sure if he could handle that type of workload, and he looked really tired at the end of the season. So it's going to end up seeing of where that sweet spot is for him, to how many games he can play. So I mean, if he can play 60 games and still look fresh, by all means, go for it and play him, because he gives you the best chance to win. But you know what? I think it's better you try to get a good backup, because I think in the NHL, unless you're Vasilevsky, it seems, and even for him, like we mentioned on the preview show, he should be getting some rest as well.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any goaltender that should be playing 70, like, when Luongo and Brodeur were playing 70 plus.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a goaltender anymore that can do that. You need a tandem. It's going to be, I want to say they're at the top, but in a tandem with Wedgwood, I think I agree with you. I think they're more in that mid range.
Yeah. And not necessarily that you need a tandem. I think you just need a good, reliable backup.
Yeah. You need someone that can come
in and take 30 games. Cause, like we said, we talked about it in the last show with Hellebuck. He saw 66 games, right? And he also faced the most shots in the NHL night in and night out. So he was really exhausted. They didn't make the playoffs. Think about if they had to use him for a playoff push or a deep run. You see Vasilevsky, he just looked exhausted after almost 3 full seasons of not really getting much bench time, and then 3 deep playoff runs. I mean, you could just tell he wasn't quite himself in that final series, and that can cost you. And a lot of people would be okay with it costing them their 3rd of 3 rings, but some of these teams haven't even seen 1 ring yet and would like their goaltender to be rested enough. So I think you're right in terms of you got to have a good tandem or a very reliable backup.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to our final topic before the quick fire, and that is the Dallas Stars' new head coach, Pete DeBoer. He is coming over from the Golden Knights, and we have seen what he did over there with a huge and San Jose Sharks before that. Lots of run and gun, lots of offensive play. The Dallas Stars are coming off a season behind Rick Bowness, or a couple seasons behind Rick Bowness. He left midway through the year, who was very much more of a defensive first guy. So what are your expectations for Pete DeBoer in Dallas and for the Stars under this new offensive minded system?
Well, if it's anything like the last two teams he's coached, it's going to be exciting to watch the Dallas Stars this year. Because like we talked about the offense, they've got the guns. I mean, they got the guns to play that run and gun style. They got the defensemen to play that run and gun style. I'm not sure about the whole as a defense, but for that one guy, he can definitely do it. So I mean, if he's able to go and drive the offense like he has done in a defensive system, what can he do with the green light? I mean, you can go, just go. I think he's really good, and that by extension, the forwards. I mean, you're looking at guys like Robertson scored 41 goals in a defensive first system. What can he do with where he's allowed to do a bit more? I don't know. I mean, the sky's the limit. I think with DeBoer as the coach. It's gonna be fun to watch how it's all gonna play out.
I once again agree with you there, Matt. Don't know if this is a fun podcast for people listening, hoping that we would be arguing about the Stars. But you're absolutely right. The DeBoer has a wide open system, and if you're giving a guy that's already offensive minded that much more leash, what's he going to be able to do with it? And I think that's where we talk about Heiskanen needs to score more. This is the perfect opportunity for him to do it this season. My biggest concern or question mark for DeBoer is your biggest gun is still unsigned.
That's the thing.
So good luck playing a wide open offense when your offense is on the shelf. But it's I think you're absolutely right. It's going to be an exciting Dallas season. Let's just hope they get to match that.
Yeah. They need their biggest weapon in the lineup, and we'll see if they can get it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's move over to the quick fire segment. So we're going to just exchange questions back and forth here, and just ask these in a couple, or answer these in a couple of sentences. So, Matt, pick one or two breakout stars for the Dallas Stars.
Breakout stars. Stars for the Stars.
Stars.
I want to say it's going to be Roope Hintz, even though he had a really good season. I think he's going to have a lot more to give this guy. I want to say, I'm going to say Hintz for here for this one.
All right, I like that.
All right, Kyle, one guy that needs to bounce back from last season.
Radek Faska.
Yes.
He did not have that great of a season last year. And I think in order for this team to be as deep as they can, he needs to really start scoring again from that third and fourth line.
Yeah.
All right. One player that could be an X factor this season.
Jake Oettinger. I think that's the biggest X factor of this team. If he can perform the same ways in the playoffs most of the season, they're in good shape.
Agreed.
All right. I want to answer this question too, but pick one rookie or prospect that could surprise and make the roster out of training camp.
This is tough. I'm not really sure on this one. I want to say it's one of their younger guys, and I'm afraid he's not even on this team. So I want to make sure he's on this team because I really like him. And that would be, oh my gosh, is he on the team? No, I don't. Is Logan Stankoven on?
Yeah. Okay. That's who I was going to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really wanted to say it, but for some reason I had Blues on my mind, and I apologize to everyone at home that just made me go, or that I just put through that. But yeah, I think Logan Stankoven.
Yeah.
I really like him. I've liked him for the last couple seasons. I thought he was a star. I couldn't remember. I apologize. But I think he's going to be the guy.
Yeah, well, there's my answer there.
Okay.
I love it.
Good. I'm glad I was thinking along with our prospect guru because, man, I thought I just totally blew that question.
If anyone's watched Prospect Corner, listen to it.
Yeah.
I love Logan Stankoven. So, I think he makes this team. I don't know if he'll make it for the full season, but he's going to be on this team, I think, for the 9 games at least.
Yeah.
I think he'll be back in Kamloops, but for the season.
Yep. I think he will be on the team opening night, probably play the 9 games, and then likely will be back. But he could end up being like a Bo Horvat who just really kind of stuck and earned his position coming out of camp, and they kept him there for that season. So never know. You never know.
Yeah.
And I think you know about that Horvat situation. So
one thing about Horvat though, I think what had gone for him was that he could play on the 4th line. I'm not sure Stankoven can do that.
That's true.
Horvat could play that 2-way defense on the 4th line, and
that's also true.
Yeah. So I think that was the difference in that. But yeah.
And if Robertson still isn't signed come, November,
he could play in the top 9. Yeah.
Yeah. So lots of moving pieces to make that happen. So all right. One other player fans should be watching we have yet to mention.
Oh, we mentioned quite a few guys, and I'm going to say the second we have mentioned him. Oh wow, we've mentioned almost everyone here.
I think we did.
I'll mention
one guy we haven't really. Yeah.
I'll mention Jacob. It's named Jacob Peterson. He played 65 games last year, 12 goals. Really good production there, and I think he has a chance to do better this year too. And I know he was up and down at the beginning of the season. I think he stuck around towards the end, so he may have a permanent spot on the team coming into this season. So keep an eye on Peterson throughout the year.
Yeah.
I think it's the only guy we really didn't mention. Who's the guy that scored a lot in the Stanley Cup run?
It was oh my gosh.
The guy that's
Gurianov.
Yeah.
Any Gurianov. He was going to be on my needing to have a bounce back. He actually did okay last year.
11 goals.
But I thought, and then Radek kind of jumped out as needing even bigger year. I think Radek is going to be a bigger factor in the long run. But Gurianov was one of those guys that could potentially be, a dark horse.
Yeah. So he's only 25, so he still has some time.
That's true. I thought he was a little older than that. He looks like a 40-year-old man, doesn't he?
Yeah. All right. Well, this could be tough if he's not in the lineup. But who will lead the team in scoring at forward?
I want to say Robertson, but if he's not in the lineup, I'm going to go off of your big bold prediction and say it's Pavelski again.
Oh yeah, there you go. And on defense,
that's got to be Heiskanen. Has to be.
If it's not, there's something wrong.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. I didn't have the right page pulled up. All right. Who is one player that could be traded before the deadline, Matt?
Oh, this one's a really tough one for me. I want to say they're going to try to trade Sagan or Ben somehow, but I don't know. Their contracts are so big and massive. So big. I don't see they're going to be able to do it. But those are the only two that I'm kind of thinking. If they try to move some pieces to try to get some salary cap space. So of the two, I'm going to say it's probably Sagan. That's the easiest to move because of I think he's a little younger.
He is a little younger. I think he brings a little more offense to a team that's looking for a third or fourth line winger that they could add at the deadline. Whereas Ben, I don't think is going to want to play a third or fourth line role. But then again, if it's for a chance to win a cup, you never know.
Yeah, well, it all depends on how they're doing in the standings too. If they
Also
trade
true.
one of them,
it's
always the biggest thing. All right, Kyle, I got the bold prediction the last episode. You get this one. One bold prediction for the season.
Honestly, I don't know how bold it is anymore because it just seems to be the writing on the wall. But I'm going to go with the Stars do not sign Robertson until deep into the year. So we're talking like November, December. And because of so, they miss out on the playoffs.
Oh.
So sorry, Stars fans. But I don't know. It's kind of that's burning in me that's going to happen. So that's what I'm going to go with.
I really, the way it's going, I really feel it's a William Nylander situation. Yeah. He's not going to sign until like to almost the deadline where you have to.
Yep.
Or you have to sit up the whole year. So
yep. No, I think that's what we're going to see, and it stinks because he's such a dynamic player, such a fun player to watch, and so young and like so much ahead of him that I really hope this doesn't taint him going forward, like in terms of like if he's in negotiations with other teams or looking to move in the future. But man, I really like Robertson. I want to see him on the ice. And unfortunately, it's just part of the business.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, you get the final question. Where will the Stars finish in the standings, and will they make the playoffs?
Well, I'm going to go off your thing and go either or. So I'll go one side. Robertson's in, so
cover your bases.
So they do sign him before the season or early on. I'm going to say they make the playoffs, and they're going to be, I'm going to say third in the Central and be in that wild card space, just like they did this past season. So they were in that wild card right up to the end and just made it in. So I'll take that. If Robertson, like you say, does not sign to like December or whatever, I think the Stars do miss the playoffs. And I think they're going to be quite a bit away from the wild card because you're missing 40 goals out of your lineup and a big driver of your offense.
Mm-hmm.
You're in tough. Even if your Oettinger stands on his head all season, you can't score goals. You have a problem.
I mean, you're not kidding there. You have to score more goals than the other team in order to win games. And if you're not doing that, then you're not winning games. So, as silly and as simple as that is, that's how you win in the NHL. So
yeah, I think it's going to be, this is the biggest part of the biggest question mark going in is that if he's not signed by that first game of the year, I don't think he's getting signed till December. That's what I'm going to say right now too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's
if at all
pretty accurate. Yeah.
There's always that threat. And I don't know if when the last time that happened was a holdout the whole season. It's been a long time if that is.
That'd be interesting to look at. So might have to look into something for the morning skate.
I know the last one was Nylander was the last one who went into the season that far, but for a full season out, the big name, yeah.
And the last one I can think of that went really, really deep, we're talking like January, February, was Sergei Fedorov back in 97 and 98, 97, 98 season when they won the second of their back-to-back. But that was back when you could sign guys for stupid amounts of money. And and I think Carolina tried to offer sheet him. There's a whole debacle. So it's been quite a few years. We'll leave it at that.
I think he's the biggest RFA still left, right?
Has to be. The other three kind of big ones. So, he was an RF. They were all UFAs, but yeah, he's got to be the biggest RFA.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap up this edition of our preview show with our articles of the day. So do you want to take it away with your article of the day first?
Sure. Since we don't have any Dallas Stars regular writers, one thing, if you guys are watching this and you're a Dallas Stars writer, come on down. So
yeah, shoot us
if you
a
want
message.
An opportunity, come and apply to the Hockey Writers. We've got openings galore in the Dallas Stars team. You'll be the only
Bring your friends.
Tell your friends. That said, we do have some writers that have been covering more at-large pieces that do cover the Dallas Stars in their pieces. And one that Sean Filippelli does a great job of doing throughout the year. Last year, he did a great job, was NHL Goalie Report. And this is where he goes through all the main storylines of goaltenders. And he's a really big goalie guy. And he does this for every division for a preview for the season. And he did the Central Division. So that covers, obviously, the Dallas Stars and Jake Oettinger. And so definitely check that article out, NHL Goalie Report 2022-23 Central Division Preview. And like I said, that link will be in the show description. But yeah, make sure to check that out. He covers, if you don't want to read all the other ones, just read your Dallas Stars part. But check that out. I recommend reading the whole thing so you can get your whole picture of the division for the goaltending. But check that out by Sean.
That was a good article. And doing those with all the divisions. Like you said, big goalie guy. It's awesome to kind of see the breakdown like that. So going off of that, I did the same type of thing, and I went with Marcus Aspaw's Central Division rankings, the defenseman. So he's been doing these division rankings. I believe he has some goaltenders out. I believe he has the forwards out, and this one happens to be the Central Division's defenseman. So he ranks them from 8 to 1 in the Central Division. We will specifically talk about the Dallas Stars since this is their preview show. And as we were ranking them in that mid-range in the Central, so does Marcus. He has them at number 5. His pairings right now are Suter with him, Lindell with Lundkvist, and Harley with Hakanpää. That's a fun one.
He missed all the new guys. We'll see.
He missed all the new guys. Yeah. So not sure. This recently came out, I think. Yeah, it came out as of this recording, the day of the recording. So
I see Miller kind of fitting in there at some point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think Miller's gonna be could really maybe even push Lindell up and Suter down to the third line. I mean, there's a lot of ways that could play out. So he doesn't really touch on, or he does touch on Lundkvist being in there, but doesn't really touch on Miller or Butcher either, who Butcher could be in there, that lineup too. So maybe with those guys, he would rank them a little bit higher, but you can kind of see where he's ranking this core for the Dallas Stars in the Central Division. So again, Central Division rankings, defenseman by Marcus Aspaa. All right. Well, that's going to do it for the Dallas Stars 2022-23 season preview. Please make sure you are following along, liking, subscribing on our YouTube page to get all of our preview shows as we try to bring them to you daily before the October 12th start of the season. Also, make sure you're following along on the Hockey Writers social media pages. We have a Twitter page, Instagram, TikTok, like I said, our YouTube page. Check out all of our writers pages. Since we said we don't have any writers for the Dallas Stars, you have to catch all of our other writers for when they mention the Stars right now. There are some writers that will come in and write up articles about the Stars throughout the season.
Look out for prospect coverage throughout the year. I'll be covering some of their prospects. So look out for that, because I love Stankoven. They've got a really good prospect group. So look out for some prospect reports for the Dallas Stars if you're a Stars fan.
Absolutely. We will not be neglecting the Stars, even though we don't have anyone full-time writing on them. We still make sure to cover every single team throughout the NHL. Also, make sure to sign up for the Morning Skate newsletter. That's another way to keep up with all your Dallas Stars information, because we do cover every team at the Morning Skate. You can sign up today at morningskate.io. And when that start of the regular season rolls around, we will be back to 5 days a week. With that, that's going to wrap up this edition of the Hockey Writers podcast. Thank you, and we will see you next time.